Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're setting off on a truly cinematic journey to a place where time just kind of stands still. We're talking about a land where wild wolves roam, where hunters literally partner with golden eagles, and where ancient traditions are still pulsing just beneath the surface of a rapidly modernizing world. We are looking at Mongolia, the last great wilderness beyond our modern world.
When the tomb of history's greatest conqueror is found, the world will perish. Talk about a chilling ancient curse, right? It's supposedly protecting the completely hidden tomb of Genghis Khan. For centuries, thousands of archaeologists have searched for it, completely in vain. And, why have they failed? Well, it's because Mongolia doesn't exactly keep its secrets carefully filed away in a library somewhere. No, it hides them in swirling sandstorms and way up atop snow-capped mountains. The landscape itself is literally the guardian of its history.
So, could we survive if this modern world were to just disappear? It's a pretty profound question, isn't it? As we kind of strip away all the conveniences of our daily lives, this explainer is going to take us on a journey back to the very dawn of humanity to really find that answer. And to understand how people not just survive, but actively thrive in these extreme conditions, we've got to start by looking at where the ancient and the hypermodern totally collide.
Section 1. The Extreme Capital and Ulaanbaatar's startling reality. Let's get into it. When most of us think of bone-chilling cold, we immediately picture places like Moscow, maybe Ottawa, but we'd actually be completely mistaken. Ulaanbaatar easily takes the crown as the absolute coldest capital city on the planet. I mean, its average annual temperature hovers below freezing, and in the dead of winter, it can plummet to a brutal minus 40 degrees Celsius. And the crazy part, it just stays there for months.
But what's really fascinating is that the capital itself actually has a nomadic past. Before settling into its current spot, the city, which was then known as Orga, was actually a mobile Buddhist monastery. Get this, it changed locations a staggering 28 times throughout its history. 28 times! It's like even their greatest city couldn't resist that deep urge to just pack up and move.
So Ulaanbaatar translates to Red Hero, and honestly this city is totally defined by its extremes. Mongolia officially has the lowest population density in the entire world, yet 1.5 million people, that's literally half the country's population, are packed right here. You'll see these sleek modern glass skyscrapers and luxury malls sitting right next to Gur districts, where thousands of people still live in traditional round yurts. And right smack in the middle of this bustling urban sprawl is the spiritual heart, the Gondan Chinlan Monastery. It houses a towering 26.5-meter hollow bronze statue. And inside that hollow statue, it's wild. There are over 2 million Buddhist scriptures, masses of sacred herbs, and get this, an entire fully furnished traditional yurt, all hidden inside the statue.
Okay, Section 2, Sacred Sites and Legends, History Carved in Stone. Let's move to the landscape and see how this builds.
So let's leave this extreme capital behind and head out into the vast, mystical landscape of the steppe. Out here, history isn't just remembered, it is literally carved in stone. Emerging from this huge sea of green at Sonjinbul, just shimmering in the sunlight, is a 40-meter-tall monument of Genghis Khan on horseback. It's made from thousands of pieces of stainless steel, and it weighs a massive 250 tons. That is incredibly heavy. And interestingly, unlike most statues of leaders that usually face toward their capital city, this one actually gazes eastward, looking right toward the sunrise and toward the Great Khan's birthplace.
And that location, totally not an accident. According to local legend, while he was actually fleeing his enemies, Genghis Khan found a golden horsewhip at this exact spot. It was interpreted as a divine sign from heaven, basically saying he was chosen to unite the tribes and conquer the world. Inside the base of the monument, there is a gigantic, handcrafted 9-meter-high traditional cowhide boot. Yeah, a 9-meter boot. You can even walk all the way up through the horse's chest, right to an observation deck sitting on the horse's head. The panoramic view from up there is just absolutely breathtaking.
That deep reverence for history definitely continues over at the Erdane Zoo Monastery. It was built back in 1586, and its literal bricks and stones were pulled right from the ruins of Karakoram, the legendary ancient capital of the Mongol Empire. The massive wall surrounding it features exactly 108 white stupas. In Buddhism, that number represents the worldly troubles that humans have to overcome. Now, during the really intense political purges of the 1930s, hundreds of monasteries were completely destroyed. Erdane Zoo almost vanished completely, but miraculously, 3 main temples survived. Some actually say they were kept as a sort of showcase museum by Joseph Stalin, just to prove he wasn't entirely wiping out religion.
And the folklore?
It just gets richer from there. Out in this completely flat valley stands Tai Far Chulu. It's this massive 20-meter-high rock that honestly looks like it just fell straight out of the sky. The legend claims that a ferocious giant snake was wreaking havoc in the area, so a warrior named Bokbilikt literally hurled this massive boulder to permanently trap the snake's head in a cave. Today, it's a highly sacred site. Pilgrims come here to tie these beautiful blue kadag ribbons around it for good luck, praying to the spirits that protect the land.
But some of these monuments are way more ancient. Take the deer stones, for instance. These are Bronze Age stone pillars that have been standing out in the steppe for over 3,000 years. I mean, we're talking millennia before Genghis Khan was even born. They are covered in these really exquisite carvings of flying or galloping deer. Researchers actually believe these deer acted as guides, carrying the souls of fallen warriors up through the heavens to the eternal realm. So they aren't just rocks, they're literal keys to understanding the spiritual life of early nomadic tribes.
All right, Section 3, Landscapes of Extremes, Fire, Ice, and Sand. We are now leaving civilization entirely behind.
So shifting our focus to the harsh physical environments that shape this incredibly resilient culture. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the true reality of the Gobi completely shatters our typical image of a desert. Like, when we hear the word desert, we usually picture endless, scorching Saharan sand dunes, right? But the Gobi is actually a cold desert, and get this, only about 10% of it is actually sand dunes. The other 90% is just incredibly harsh, barren rock, gravel, and clay plateaus.
Surviving out here, it requires some absolutely incredible adaptation. During the winter, those few sand dunes we talked about are actually covered in snow, and the wildlife is wild. The critically endangered two-humped wild Bactrian camel manages to survive here by literally drinking salt water. There's no way. The Gobi is also home to the only desert-adapted bear in the entire world, the Gobi bear, and sadly, there are only about 50 of them left on Earth. Oh, and in those rare areas where sand does gather, like the Congorian Els Dunes, the friction of the moving sand grains creates this deep, rumbling echo. It sounds exactly like giant beating drums. It's surreal.
Just a short trip away from that, you'll find Bayan Zag, also known as the Flaming Cliffs. Walking through this deeply eroded sandstone, it literally feels like you're lost on the surface of Mars. When the sun sets, the rock glows this vibrant, burning orange red. And this very spot actually changed science forever. Back in 1923, an American explorer named Roy Chapman Andrews discovered the world's first fossilized dinosaur eggs right here. It was the discovery that proved, once and for all, that dinosaurs laid eggs instead of giving birth to live young. A total game changer.
You know, the extremes of this landscape are perfectly captured when you just contrast its waters. Take Lake Huvsgul, which Mongolians affectionately call the Mother Ocean. It's a 2-million-year-old ancient green jewel. The water is so pure you can drink it straight from the lake, and in winter it freezes so incredibly thick that big trucks used to just drive right across it. Now compare that to Lake Geyser. Actually, scratch that. Lake Geyser is technically just over the border in the Altai Republic of Russia, but it's such a brilliant comparison. Despite enduring minus 40-degree winters, Lake Geyser never freezes. Never. Underwater thermal springs are constantly pushing up mud and green gas, creating these beautiful, shifting, bright turquoise circles. Locals actually used to think they were spiritual gateways.
Bordering this entire massive region are the mighty Altai Mountains. The word Altai actually means gold, which refers to how these peaks just shimmer in the sunset. Way high up around Mount Quitten, right where the borders of Mongolia, Russia, and China all meet, is the territory of the world's most elusive big cat, the snow leopard. And it is exactly in this unforgiving, high-altitude environment that we find some of the last true nomads left on Earth.
Which brings us to Section 4, the nomadic soul, and traditions that truly defy time. So having journeyed through the extreme cities and the wild landscapes, we can finally strip away the very last layers of modernity. Let's look at the human element, traditions surviving exactly as they did thousands of years ago. In the Western Altai region, Kazakh nomadic herders maintain this breathtaking 12,000-year-old tradition. They actually capture young golden eagles and spend years patiently training them. For like 8 solid years, the hunter and this massive bird of prey share a profoundly deep bond, hunting together out in the freezing cold. You can actually see this unbelievable partnership on full display at the annual Golden Eagle Festival. But honestly, the most beautiful part of the whole shebang is that after those 8 years, the hunter completely releases the eagle back into the wild so it can start its own family. How incredible is that? Survival out here has always relied on strength, endurance, and serious skill. And that is perfectly distilled in the Naadam festival. So the crucial point here is that these were originally designed by Genghis Khan himself as intense military tests to select the absolute best warriors. The festival centers around 3 manly games. First up, wrestling. There are absolutely no weight limits, and they wear these unique open-chested shirts. Legend says that tradition started after a woman disguised herself as a man and literally defeated everyone. Next is long-distance horse racing across the open steppe. And get this, the jockeys are kids, usually aged 5 to 12. Lighter riders mean the horses have way more stamina. And finally, archery, which requires just absolute pinpoint precision to hit these tiny targets made of stacked leather rings.
But beyond the big festivals, just everyday nomadic life is incredibly sensory. I want you to imagine walking through the lush Orkhan Valley. You catch the smoky scent of burning wood drifting over from a white jur tent. You go inside, and a family is sharing mutton that's been slow-cooked on hot river stones. They're passing around air egg, which is the slightly alcoholic fermented horse milk that's absolutely packed with vitamins to keep their energy up in the harsh climate. And they're eating piping hot kushur, these delicious fried meat pastries. You hold them by your fingertips, which supposedly stimulates acupressure points. They are literally living off the land just exactly like their ancestors did 2 millennia ago.
You know, it all really comes down to a thought that's beautifully summarized by this quote. Happiness is sometimes simply a warm jur tent, a fragrant cup of milk tea, and the echoing sound of horse hooves in the stillness. I just love that. It so beautifully captures the resilient, spiritual heart of Mongolia. And man, it is just a stark, refreshing contrast to the relentless, sometimes suffocating pace of the modern urban life that most of us are so used to. Which brings us right back to where we started today. If you ever feel completely overwhelmed by the screens, the constant noise, the sheer speed of modern life, maybe the answer isn't downloading a new mindfulness app or taking a vacation to just another crowded city. Maybe, just maybe, the answer is out there on the vast, open steppe. Is it time for you to finally step away and seek out the last great wilderness? Let that thought linger for a bit. Thank you so much.